right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Race to the Finish. Thank you so much for everyone who's been listening to all of the episodes so far, and to the mini episode that I put out a week before. Actually, it was like 2 weeks ago, and to listening to Malcolm's episode. So this is going to be, I believe, the 8th episode. So we're really going to sneak up to 10 episodes here pretty soon. So I wanted to bring on a special guest. So if you really follow me on Twitter, have been, and following the show really for the last year, I've been interacting with her on Twitter for a while now, and she's been doing a lot of things. And so I want to bring on my friend Keyanna, and I'll just let her introduce herself.
Hey y'all, this is Keyanna, aka Yana, aka Me Llamo Yana. I am a Honduran / Garifuna woman, born in New York, raised in North Carolina. I'm the owner of an online store called Brown Sugar and Canela. I also, I guess you could call me a public speaker. I go to universities and stuff whenever they ask me for panels. And I'm also a new flight attendant, so I'm learning how to juggle all of this while juggling my job. I have a YouTube and I just started a blog. So yeah, that's basically a little bit about me.
A little bit, but that's a lot of it.
Yeah.
that is seriously a lot. That's more than I already knew going into this. So yeah, so obviously we're gonna have a lot to cover in this episode, just because you're gonna be the first guest that's not local to my area here in Northeast Ohio, and so so I want people to get to know you a little bit more. So you covered a lot of about your demographics as a person, but also about what your career is. So I guess starting off, you mentioned the word like Garifuna, right? So I can say like being up here in Northeast Ohio, we don't really have many Garifuna here, and so I guess you can say I first learned about Garifuna culture like when I went down to Belize, right? And then I even had some Belizean friends up here when I went to school up here at John Carroll. Like it's a university in Cleveland, and I had a bunch of Belizean friends, so they explained to me what Garifuna is. But I want the listeners to kind of listen from your perspective. Could you talk up a little bit about like what Garifuna is to you?
Okay, so Garifuna is an indigenous group that was exiled from St. Vincent to the Central American countries of Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. So it's an indigenous Black group, a mixture of Arawak, African, and Carib. We have our own language, which is also called Garifuna, and just a unique culture that's different from, I guess, what people automatically think a Central American culture is. It's like being Mosquito or Mayan, or it's an indigenous group. So yeah.
With that tying in with like, so you also said that you're Honduran too, and
right.
So you brought up some interesting points about like it's different than what we normally associate with like with Central American culture or like identity and stuff when it comes to indigenous groups. But I would say, I guess being Latinx as a whole, the indigenous groups throughout the entire region,
Right.
I would say a lot of people that I'm around all the time here in Northeast Ohio, mostly like Puerto Ricans and Mexicans, I would bet money they wouldn't even know that Garifuna is actually like a thing, like an actual like demographic. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, has that ever really presented any challenges for you when you could talk about like your identity and stuff like that? Like, what is that like for you?
So I get a lot of like you can just see the big old question marks on top of people's heads when I mention the word, or I'll get a lot of questions, or I'll get like, oh, it's so cool that you actually know your history, because it's not, unfortunately, a lot of Black people around the world they cannot trace as far as back as my culture can, because we were taken from our homelands and all that stuff. So a lot of people are appreciative of me teaching them about my culture. They like to learn. That's just really it. I get a lot of questions, definitely. Like a lot of what? Like, what are you even, what is coming out of your mouth? But for the most part, I do get people that are genuinely like interested. And then when they do learn, like let's say they're like somewhere and they see something or they hear something around the culture, they'll just be like, hey, I thought of you when I saw this, and it's kind of cool to like be like, oh, like you thought of me when you saw something like, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. And so tell me a little. So you've been to Honduras, yeah? I mean, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I saw some stuff like when you were putting it out on Twitter and stuff. Like I think you were going down to Honduras and all of that. So you were born here in the United States, or you were born down there, or I
I
don't
was
remember
born in the
quite
United
frankly.
States, and
Okay.
then when I was two, from the ages 2 to 4, I lived over there. And then since I've came back, I usually go like at least once a year. So
Oh, for
yeah,
real?
yeah.
How's that?
I love it. I really do. I went for a whole month in December. I came back in January, and then I went back in May, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking about going back again next month. So we shall see.
I gotcha. And so, like, how are those different? Like, I guess you could say, like, when you go back to, how can I put this? So I'm Salvadoran, right? And so I was born here though. So I didn't go to El Salvador for the first time. I think since I was like 10, and I haven't been back for like 6 years. So 6 years ago is the last time I went. But I remember the feeling going back to El Salvador or going to El Salvador, right, and seeing it like, oh, this is where my parents are from. Like, I feel like a sense of belonging here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
always feel a sense of belonging. Actually, when I graduated from undergrad, my goal was to go home for 6 months, but I let other people determine my life for me, and I didn't listen to them. In a sense, regret it, but I learned from it. So now it's like I don't even let anyone try to tell me what. Like, you can tell me what you think will be best for me. I'm gonna listen, but I'm not gonna do it. So
No, I feel that.
I always feel a sense of belonging when I get to my town more than anything, because the closest airport is San Pedro Sula, which you've probably heard of.
Yeah.
Um and my town is Trujillo Colon. Like, it's so San Pedro Sula is, Cortes, and I'm in Colon. I'm in like two different departments.
Uh huh.
It's a long, long, long ride. Doesn't matter if you're taking the bus, a cow, a plane. It's a long ride.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
just
Honduras
it's
is a big country.
yeah. So it's just once I get to Trujillo where I'm like, I'm home. I don't really care to get to Honduras. It's me getting to Trujillo where I'm like, I'm home. I know
Hmm.
exactly where I'm at. It's just all the feels, just all the familiar faces. Cause yeah, it's just a long. San Pedro isn't a Garifuna town, so it's not like home to me. But once we get to
Hmm.
Trujillo, which is a Garifuna town, it's like, yes, I am finally where I belong.
Right. And so I guess like going out because I've been to Honduras probably once, but I don't think I was near to like any like Garifuna town or region or anything like that. So I didn't get to see it firsthand. So I guess I'll ask you, I mean, like what is the dynamic in Honduras with Garifuna culture, people in comparison to like I guess you could say the rest of the population? You know, like what is that dynamic like?
um, of course, as us being Black people, we definitely have, how can I say it? It's like being in the States when you go to like the suburbs, and it's like all the white people, and then you go to like the urban area, and it's all the Black people. Like, one whole, how can I say it? Like, there's a mixture, of course,
Mm,
but you can always tell where there's a larger Garifuna population or where's the Garifuna population. And you can tell where it's not a Garifuna population. The dynamics can be strange. There's a lot of people now that are, you know, intermingling, and they've been intermingling. They're mixed. You have the mixed children, the mixed homes. But you
mm-hmm.
also have those, you know, obviously racist people who just don't want anything to do with los negros. Um,
Uh,
And then like just like little, the jokes are, oh, go make, andaste pan de coco, like go make some, cocoa bread, and stuff like
yeah,
that. But the dynamics, I personally haven't experienced too much racism in Honduras, but of course when I go to Honduras, I only stay in Trujillo because that's where I feel the most
for real.
comfortable. And
Yeah.
I know for a fact I'm not gonna um experience a lot of racism versus if I probably go to like Tegucigalpa, like the capital of Honduras or something like
Yeah.
that, which I've never actually been to. I've been told I've been to Tegucigalpa, I have absolutely no memory of that. So I must have been like, it must have been during the time I was living there because as an adult, I have no memory.
Right.
Um, but it's also interesting because I have a lot of like people like that I know, whether they're friends or cousins or even an uncle of mine who's younger than me. He goes to school. They go to school in Tegucigalpa, they're from Trujillo, and a lot of like they'll post like some like social media stuff like if someone said something racist from their university or stuff like that, and I'm just like, it's just a different language. This is the same ish that happens in the
Mm.
US where people
Yeah,
would say stuff in their group meets trying to be funny
for
and
sure.
it gets out. So, but I'm
Yep.
like, so
It sounds like
I'm
Puerto
not,
Rico, like with
yeah,
the
I'm
whole thing
like,
with the government.
yeah. So it's like I'm not too sure. I want to visit Tegucigalpa like that.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think that's where I went. No, I didn't. I didn't go to Tegucigalpa, but I was in Santa Lucia, and it's like a little town like outside of Tegus.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And actually, now that you bring Lucia up, I've never been, but I've been to Santa Rosa de Copan, which is actually closer to like it's past San Pedro Sula. And
uh-huh.
it literally, we went there. I was young. I was still in middle school when we went, but I clearly remember we were the only black people. It was 10 of us. It was 10 of us, and we were the only ones there. And after a while, I just kept noticing. I hate one of my pet peeves, and this is very embarrassing to say because I'm a public speaker. But one of my pet peeves is being stared at. Like, okay,
Mm.
so if I'm speaking, of course, look at me, right? But if I'm just being me, I'm just minding my business, just walking around. You're staring at me. I'm gonna get slightly. I'm just gonna get irritated. So after a while,
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, like, what are they staring at? And so my cousin's like, and she's actually from here too. She's from Florida, and she's like,
Uh-huh.
I don't think you've noticed we're the only black people here. And I looked around, I was like,
Dang.
yo, you're right. Like they're looking at us, like because they're just so either they probably haven't seen black people ever that like in front of them, or they just uh, is just they've never. I don't know. I still to this day don't know. But that was my first time being somewhere in Honduras that I was literally like the minority. Like literally, like, okay, in San Pedro, it's not a Garifuna town, but there's black people around. Versus in this town, you could tell everyone was either mestizo or indigenous. Like it was extremely wild. This is all in the same country my parents were born in. I was just so confused. That's why like if people tell me, "Oh, I'm Honduran," I don't get too excited in a sense
Mm.
because it's like, okay, what region? Like, what part are you from?
Yeah.
Because your experience can be a whole lot different from my experience, especially for a different race.
Right.
But if I meet someone's Garifuna, even if they're not from Honduras, just the fact they're Garifuna, it's like, okay, we more than likely have way more in common than we think.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I guess you could say it transcends the borders, because ultimately
Yeah.
borders they're like okay, they're lines on a map, like you know what I'm
Right.
saying. But ultimately, like culture is what transcends all of that. And
Yeah.
so you brought up. There's a couple of things I want to react to that you brought up. It's like kind of like the same stuff that happens here in the U.S. And I wish that more Latinx people understood this,
I
and
wish they did too.
it's seriously like I don't get it, and I'd like to say okay, so I'm gonna talk about Twitter for a second. I remember putting some I remember putting something out there that there's a lot of like voices that are very prominent in the Central American community that are
Mhm.
primarily from uh Los Angeles, right, from LA.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, y'all are so educated about everything about yourselves, and it's because I'm from the Midwest, right? You can probably tell from my accent, like, and up here in Cleveland, like there's a lot of Salvadorans, but not really many anyone else, right? And so yeah, we know a lot about El Salvador, but we don't know much about the rest of Central America. I'm privileged enough to know about like a lot of other Central Americans just because I just think I got lucky throughout who could just come into my life. But my point is this: like, there are a lot of people in the Latinx community that are like, "Oh, I'm not white. I'm Latin. I'm Latino, right? Or I'm Hispanic." It's like that don't mean nothing. Like that doesn't mean anything, right? And of course, I think I've said this in the past episode. I was like, of course, it's nice to say like, "Oh yeah, I'm Latino, Latina, Latinx, or Hispanic, or whatever," right? Yeah, because I mean, in a country where minorities are marginalized, right? And you're looked at as different. I mean, there was, like there's tragedies that happen in this country, right? Just based upon those demographics.
Right.
But the greater point of it is what makes it different between race and ethnicity is with an ethnicity, there are different races that can be applied under that ethnicity. So it's kind of like saying, like, if you go to Europe and you say, "Oh, I'm American,"
Right.
okay, like
Hmm.
that'll make a difference. Oh, I'm Latino. Okay, that doesn't make a difference. Like I feel like a lot of Latinos, like, they dismiss the fact that there are such thing as Black Latinx folks, right? And probably don't even know about what Garifuna is. So
Yeah.
I guess the question I'm asking is, like, what you're a public speaker and you started a business, like what's your driving force to really put the message out there?
To educate, just educate people that there are Black people in Latin American countries and
Mm-hmm.
there are indigenous groups in Latin American countries because I am both. I am Black, I am indigenous. So it's just to get the people's minds moving, educating them, starting up conversations that they can, we have this conversation right now. Other people are going to listen to this conversation. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
go and tell other people. Those people are going to tell other people. So that's really been my goal from the beginning of starting my YouTube, my business. Um, Public speaking was never an end goal, but I literally just started all of this because that's just how I am. I like to educate and I like to learn. So I'm like, why not, do this? So I did it, and I guess, people saw that I was serious and that I like this and I can, they saw the drive more than anything. And I've been asked to, to speak. I'm like, hey, what the hell? Why not?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that's been the goal, just to educate simply.
Yeah. And so, um, what would you say is kind of like your experience as someone who is Black, is Central American, is Garifuna? Like, what would you say your overall experience is like? Like going through school, interacting with other like Latinx folks, and like, etc. Like, what do you take away from all of that?
Ooh, it's something. It is something. It is something. So I've always known I'm Garifuna. Did I always know exactly what that entailed? Like what, that meant? No, I didn't learn until like I was in the seventh grade with details what that
Mm,
meant. But from the day I started school here, because I started school in Honduras first, and then I came to the States, and the only language I spoke at the time was Spanish. I always had a way of like trying to find my way with people that were Spanish speakers. And of course, I was always the only Black person because everyone around me was either mestizo or white, for the most part mestizo. Um,
mm-hmm.
and so growing up, it was like the just the outcast basically, because it's like, okay, there's all these people, and then there's her, the Black girl that speaks Spanish. That literally is what people
Mm.
like described me for. Like, oh, do you know Keyanna? Wait, who's that? The Black girl speaks Spanish? Like that literally was it all of my life.
Wow.
And then, but it always, most of my friendships or anything, the way people would find out I spoke Spanish was always because of something negative. It was never something positive. It was always something negative.
Mm.
Because I have I have a temper on me. I do. I would never deny that I have a temper on me, and I also am a. I guess it can be good. It can be bad. I'm a defensive person. Like I'm going to stand up for myself. Like I don't care who you are. And so for the most part, these friendships would start because someone would either say something about me or someone around me in Spanish. I'd be like, yo, like, what's good? like, like, ¿qué pasó? Dime,
Yeah.
¿qué pasó? And then they would be like, oh my God. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, like, I heard you. Like, say it with your chest. Like, come on, now let's speak.
Say it with your chest.
And then they would, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you could speak Spanish. Da, da, da. Oh, how do you speak Spanish? Like, where'd you learn? Like, oh, my
Uh,
mom's from Honduras too. My grandma. Da, da, da. And it's like, And so eventually I would like forgive them in a sense and then like use that to educate them on the fact that you can't be walking around here just saying stuff. Doesn't matter if someone's white or Black. Like, you don't
mhm.
know who speaks Spanish for one, and you don't know who actually is Latinx because there's no way to look Latinx. I've just been
Right.
brainwashed to think you know how everyone that's Latinx looks, but you can't tell.
Right.
And so that's how most of my friendships growing up ever went. Well, mostly, I'm going to say mostly down south since living in North Carolina. Because in New York, like, for the most part, everyone for the most part knows that unless you're like in upstate New York, like Syracuse or Albany or some crap like that, I don't freaking
Mm.
know. Um, like, close to Canada or something. For the
Yeah,
most part,
yeah.
people know that there's Latinos that look all kinds of shape, color, forms, whatever you want to call it. So it's not abnormal. It's actually when I go to New York, I get spoke to in Spanish. I still to this day wonder whether it's because it's New York or if there's something that gives off the fact that I speak Spanish.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's not abnormal to speak Spanish, like, and be black or be white or whatever, especially
Right.
because there's large Latin Caribbean population, Dominicans,
For
Puerto
sure.
Ricans, Cubans, and people for the most part know that people look different, in those
Hmm.
islands. They don't look like what people with Telemundo and
Right.
Univision.
Univision.
Yeah. So, but in New York, life wasn't bad or whatever growing up as far as explaining to people that I never had to explain to people I spoke Spanish. It was never like, oh, speak Spanish. It was never like that. It was once I got to North Carolina where it became like that. And then high school, I graduated high school and time for college came. I purposely applied to HBCUs because I was sick of it. I was sick
Mm.
of being the outcast in my group. I wanted to be with people that looked like me, even if they didn't have the same culture as me. I wanted to like with people be at a university with people that look like me. So
Yeah.
I went to HBCU, but after a while, kind of like somehow, of course, felt like an outcast either way. Like I physically looked like look not physically, but what's the word? Oh, I just lost it. Anyways, I looked like everyone else because we were all black, but
Uh-huh.
culturally, I was still different. Of course, I'm Garifuna. I speak Spanish. Like my parents are from Honduras. Like this is not something that's common. So, I eventually decided, like, you know what? I'm gonna start a club just
Yeah, I was gonna
to
say.
educate people. Yeah, just to educate people on what an Afro-Latino is, or that there are actually Black people in Latin American countries, and what better place to do it than at a HBCU where we're all prideful of our race. I mean, very proud of our race. And so, yes, I started that. And from there, actually, started the organization, which was called Águilas Afro Latino. It was called Águilas because my university's mascot are eagles. We're NCC Eagles. So I was like, like just, Águilas and then Afro Latino.
Yeah.
And from there, actually, is when I eventually started the business, all that stuff. Actually, I feel like that's where all of my, like, things that have happened to me, I feel like that's where it began. It began the day I decided to start that organization because from the organization, learning how to manage things and program stuff and marketing and blah 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 led me to
Hmm.
like, ooh, I want to do something else. Let me start this. I started this t-shirt line, and then ooh, I like that. Let me start doing this. And I started YouTube, and then ooh, that's just
Yeah.
how I've just been a go-getter since then. but
That's good.
but from my HBC experience, it was good. People actually learned about Afro Latinos. I actually met Afro Latinos because again, we all look alike. So it's kind of like I can't just walk around like you're Afro Latino. Wait, are you Afro Latino? Wait. Oh, I don't know who's Afro Latino. So like the club actually has helped me get to know other people, and it helped me. It helped all of us actually be able to educate like in the group instead of it just being like one person. Because when I
Yeah.
started, it was just me. I didn't know a single Afro Latino on campus. I literally was like, I'm gonna start this, and whatever happens, happens. Like that's just how I am. Whatever happened, happened. So lo que será, será. So I had these people joining and just learning, and like they learned from me. I learned from
Hmm.
them, but I don't want to even too cocky. But it's like it's not that hard to learn about Afro Latinos, but it's kind of a little complicated to learn about Garifunas because no one just goes on Google and types in Garifuna.
Right.
Most people go and type in Amara Negra, Sede Cruz, Afro Latino. Like, what is that? So,
Yeah.
but a lot
It's
of them
automatically
definitely,
associated with like big figures out there already. Like,
yeah, yeah. So like a lot of people definitely learned from me, and it was definitely a great experience. But as far as growing up within the Latinx community, even still now, as far as me personally, like I try my best to not necessarily and it's gonna sound so horribly, not to like just mingle too much. Because after a while, it gets draining for me. Doesn't
Mm,
matter if you know that I'm black or if you've known me for 10 years. It's like racism is so embedded into people that even when they say things, I don't think they consider it racist, but it's like what you just said really offended me. And I don't have the energy and power right now to
yeah,
educate you on why what you just said was racist. So I'm just gonna, back away right now. And then when I'm
for
ready to
sure.
like, yeah, I'll be back. So yeah, like that's just kind of how life has been as a black Latinx person.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
definitely
it gets
eventful.
Yeah, and it definitely gets harder when you throw in Garifuna there. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What'd you just say? Like, did you
So
just
there's a
curse at me?
couple there's a couple things that I kind of want to like touch base on too. Like first things first, I want to and I just this just came to my head. I want to clarify what I said. Like, the racism has been embedded in people's heads for generations. So kind of transitioning into what you just said, right? By teaching people about your experiences through this organization, I think it's a beautiful thing because that I feel, you know, have like by you going out there and doing like public speaking, starting organizations, starting a business with like beautiful messages on the shirts, right? It allows people to start having that conversation and begin to unlearn a lot of the things that were imposed throughout generations, right? So
Right.
the second thing I want to bring up too is the fact that like I'm so glad that you are putting your organization out there. It's because I feel like so many people who are running cultural organizations throughout the entire country kind of look at it as like, oh, it's a club for all of us to gather and have fun. But the vibe that I get from you is that you took it very seriously. Like, nah, this is not just a club. Like, you're gonna come here to learn and
Yes. Actually, it's
yeah,
how it was. It's how it was.
uh-huh,
It was to learn. Some
right,
of my e-board members were like, nah, I think we should have a party. Okay, we can have a party one time this
yeah,
semester, but every other time we're gonna have panels, we're gonna watch videos, we're gonna have chit chats. Like, and by the time I'm a serious
right,
person, don't get me wrong, I am. And my friends can tell you, like, that's something I definitely enjoy about myself, that I can be really serious, but when it's time to turn up, it's turn up
yeah,
time. It's like it's just
right,
my mom definitely taught me, like, there's a time and place for everything. So it's like that's like
mm-hmm.
like now I was thinking about it. I was like, yo, I run 3 websites. I run
Oh my
three
gosh,
Instagrams because it's like for me it's a place and time for everything. So like I just started my
mm-hmm.
blog. My blog is revolved around my career. It's revolved around my flight attendant life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my flight attendant life mixing in too much with my panel discussions on race and all of that. You know what I'm saying? And
Right,
then I have my business, and I don't want my business, like I don't like to mix pleasure with business. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
really why I have all these like websites and stuff. It's like like this is the Keyanna that public speaking at universities. This
Yeah,
is the Keyanna that flies and well, and then this is the brown sugar and canela. You don't even know what my name is. Just know that I'm page. That's
yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah.
So I want to say shout outs to you for all of that because that's where everything starts. Like I could say like me personally, like so I was on the executive board for the Latin American Student Association, and it's general because it's a small school. If we really like, if we really separated a different organization for every demographic, throughout Latin America, we would probably
Oh
have
my God. Y'all would
yeah, like
take
we
up
would
the
have,
entire club.
yeah, like
All the
one
clubs,
person
all
would
the
be
spaces
everything.
for them.
Yeah, and so like I can understand it at, like big universities like in California or Florida or whatever, right? And so like, but this is like
Hmm.
the Mexican whatever, right? Or the
Right.
Cuban whatever, like I get it, right?
I
But at a
mean, but
small
even just in,
school,
just in the countries alone, like you see like how I'm gonna then there's like mosquitoes. Like, yeah, we can
uh-huh.
both be from Honduras where we both have still different cultures. So it would be a lot. It would.
Yeah. And so well my point is like you learn so much by getting involved with like the organizations that are set up. And if it's not already set up for you, do what Yana did and start your own. Like,
Yeah,
like
literally.
that's what makes the difference. It's like if you want to see something done, you go out and do it. Like if you got the energy, you got the resources, and it's a no better time than when you're in college where like administrators are like, "Oh yeah, we got to improve our diversity and inclusion numbers. Oh, we got a student? Yeah, let's exploit this student so we can give them money to do the work for us." Like,
Yeah.
listen, like I was very pessimistic at that, but the thing is like when you're in college and you have a vision for yourself, it's like screw it. Like, I'm going to do this. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then from there, like you just said, so many different ideas start to spawn. You start to find yourself like, oh, I like doing this. I would like doing this. So that's what I'm like, I'm so happy to hear that from you because like so many people don't understand that. And I want to see more people do well for themselves. So like shout outs to you for that. Seriously.
And I'm always down. Like, if you have me on Twitter, I've had people DM me, be like, "Hey, how'd you start this? Like, can you guide me?" I'm guided, and it's not like something to brag about. Like, I'm not bragging. I'm just like, I will gladly help you. DM me. I actually just had someone DM me this week, telling me they want to start a clothing line and how to start it and blah 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 and how did I go about it. I'm like, girl, yes, I got you. Sent a whole message. Like, that is me. Same thing with for why I created my blog for my careers, because like I get people like, hey, how'd you become a flight attendant? Like, like just asking me all these questions. I'm like, okay, I got you. See, what I'm about to do is I'm gonna start a blog, and when you ask these questions, I'm just gonna forward it to you. Okay, that's it. Yeah, I'm definitely down. If you add me on social media, I will. And you message me. Don't be a creep. Like, don't be creepy about it, because I do get
Right.
creeps. But of course, if I feel like, okay, this is genuine, I'm going to respond, like, give you the real tea.
That's awesome. Cool. Cool. So I want to transition to your business. I mean, I feel, in my opinion, that's how I even, found your profile because quite honestly, the Central American shirts caught my eye. Like I bought like one for myself and I think for my entire family. Like they were cool, but as you
Yeah,
dive deeper into your website, but into the rest of your designs, there are plenty more messages that for people to learn from, So I
right.
guess, tell me about brown sugar and canela. Like what is it and how did it come to be?
Okay. So honestly, Rancho Canela came to be because I had went to so I started the Afro-Latino organization.
Hmm.
Um, Originally before that, I was in an African organization. And
Okay.
so I had a lot. I still have a lot of African shirts, like shirts that say Africa's not a country, just all types of shirts that have to do something with the motherland. And so I'm like, okay, I've already started this Afro Latino organization. I have not a single Afro Latino shirt. Like, what is going on? Like, literally, what is going on? I started searching up online, and I just personally didn't like the ones I was finding at the time. Like, I was like, this isn't it. So, but I found one shirt that was like, okay, I could rock this. I'll do this one for a little while, and we'll see what I find. And the
Hmm.
shirt said something like Afro Latina Naturals Rock or whatever. And so I would wear it with my natural hair or whatever, blah, blah. So in the month of February of 2017, it's Black History Month. I am attending HBCU. So we had a Black market event or whatever, where it was like a whole bunch of Black businesses at the university. You could just come and support and stuff. So I went to it. I actually was part of it, but I wasn't selling anything. I had a desk, a booth where I had like a PowerPoint and like a lot of like pamphlets and information on Afro Latinos, just to educate people about
Hmm.
Afro Latinos. And so after I took a little, taking a break from standing at my booth, I was walking around. I was seeing a lot of people had businesses, like t-shirts businesses. And of course, they were all had to do with being Black, which of course I'm proud of being Black, but I have a lot of shirts about being Black. I have a lot of shirts about Africa. So I'm
Uh-huh.
like, yo, and this is the day that I was actually wearing my Latina shirt. And before that, I had went on a date with my then boyfriend. He was like, "Did you make that shirt?" And I looked at him like he was crazy. I was like, "No." Because it looks like something you would make. And I looked at it. I was like, I guess it does look like that to make. So
Huh.
I go to the back market. I'm walking around. And I'm like, I don't see anything, of course, that has to do with Afro Latino. And the only shirt I have is this one that I have on now. So I'm talking to people. I actually started networking there. I was like, so how'd you go about this? Like, like I'm here, and I'm literally getting like a light bulb in my head that's telling me that I should start a business. They're like, go for it. Da, da, da. And like just giving me all like, some sort of guidance. Not a lot,
Yeah.
but some sort of guidance. So this was on a Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So Monday morning, I go to my organization advisor, who's actually Caucasian, but just very, very like I love, like I really do.
Uh-huh.
And so I go to her like, hey Emily, like this happened, and like she was kind of like in a sense also my mentor. So I went to her, happened this, da, da, da. In the conversation, she's like, there's actually someone, like a staff member, that actually has a t-shirt business. I could connect you with her, and
Oh.
you could bring the idea to her. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. And on top of that, that same conversation, she was like, oh, I also met an Afro-Latina social worker at this university I went to last week. Da, da, da. I'm like, what? Because I studied social work in undergrad. So I'm like, what? Okay. But anyways, I go to the t-shirt lady or whatever, and I met her. She gave me like a lot of information, like things that I wasn't even thinking. Like she was
Wow.
just like, okay, so you got to think about how long you want to do this for. Like, do you want what is it that you want to gain? Is it like all types of stuff? And I was just like, okay. So I went home, started brainstorming, and then originally, of course, like I said the whole time, Afro Latina, the shirts were only going to be an Afro Latina design. I started off with an Afro Latina,
Hmm.
and it was just gonna be those two. And maybe if I wanted to grow eventually, I would. But like I didn't have any intention of growing. But I enjoyed doing it. Where I was like I don't only identify as Afro Latina, and I have a platform where it's kind of like not huge, but it's kind of like a thing in Central American Twitter. And I'm like, why not give back to that like have given me this platform? And I'm
Yeah.
also like, Central American. So like I started brainstorming, and the Central American design and the first Garifuna design were the following designs. But of course, the Central American one booms. Like that's the one that still keeps the business going. Because honestly, since I started in my job, it's kind of hard for me to like I used to be really quick um with shipping, like really quick
Yeah.
with it. I actually something in the business Instagram this week. So I'm like, this is why it takes you a while for your order to get to you because
Right.
I have a minimum of 10 days off a month, and so those minimum of 10 days off, I do come home sometimes, but other times I just want to travel. Like today's probably gonna be my only day home for the entire month of August because
Wow.
my other days that I'm off I want to travel. I already have like trips for enjoyment planned, and then all the other days I'm on call or I'm at like I'm necessarily probably not working the flight, but I have to be at my base, and my base is not at my house. So it's kind of hard for me to ship your orders, 2 to 5 business days, which sometimes used to be one business day, because
I was
I'm
gonna
just not
say, like,
home.
my shirts shipped pretty fast.
Yeah, like I was really sometimes if I was sitting in the house and I was doing absolutely nothing, and I'm like, yo, let me just ship this order. I know my website says 5 business days, but that's mostly because I would get people like, when am I getting my shirt? And I'm like, I just ordered it 5 minutes ago. Relax. So I had to put it on the website, to let people know approximately this how one of your shirts will ship. But sometimes if you ordered at 5, your shirt was gonna get delivered at like 6 p.m. Like
Uh-huh.
so, yeah.
That's cool. I mean, so where do you see the business going?
As of now, I don't know because I've been thinking about rebranding, but
Oh,
that
okay.
takes a lot. And then
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
we just turned 2, and it's like I already paid for the domain for the year. So I'm like, I might rebrand
Oh,
next year, but I'm also thinking
yeah.
about adding different shirts stuff. Like I need to sit one day and actually brainstorm. Like, okay, because I actually was in Houston maybe 2 weeks. One of my friends who I actually knew her before Central American Twitter, but for clear too. And she was telling me, she's like, yeah, I feel like you should just do other shirts. Like your shirts are good, but you've been doing this for a while. I feel like you should just grow a little more. I feel like, I want you to see like to grow more. And I was like,
Hmm.
you're right. Everything you tell me is right. So I'm like, I'm gonna eventually sit down one day, brainstorm what new designs I'd like. I'm gonna keep the Central America shirt because I personally love it and people love it. But I
Oh,
also
yeah.
want, something else. I've had people ask for the same Central American design, but in a different color. And I'm like, I don't
Hmm.
know. I'm somebody that wears black a lot, so maybe I'm being biased. I just feel like
I'm a
black
fan.
is fine. And then
Yeah.
it's like I don't want blue. first of all, it's too many darn countries and too many shades of blue. I never got
Yeah.
time to get the purple blue. Oh, that's not the Salvadoran blue. That's not the
Right. And everyone's gonna
19
start
So
bickering with each other.
yeah, so I'm
No,
like
I'm a
black
fan
is
of the
neutral.
black.
Yeah, I'm like black is neutral. I had the white one. I did the white one last summer where it was white and the letters were in black. I don't know, like I have it, but I don't wear it as much as I wear the black with white letters.
I feel like that's with
So
anything white. It's like you don't wear it that much because it's gonna get dirty. Like,
I don't know. It's like I like it, and I wear white a lot. Like I either my outfits are either white or black for the most
oh,
part.
okay.
Like sometimes I'll pop out with colors, but it's like the black just look. I don't know. I don't know. I just liked how the black looked better.
Yeah. Because the
But
white letters
yeah,
pop out and stuff, and quite honestly, for a
yeah,
bigger guy like me, it kind of fits my shape a little better. I'm not gonna
I
lie,
feel like
and
that
so
might be it for me. I don't know. It's just the black. I personally prefer it, and that's just. I feel like people do have because it was just a few people. I'd be like, oh, I think a blue would look nice. I'm like, blue. That's just too much of a headache. I can already see people. That's not the right blue, and
yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
Especially like when you mix blue with Central American, like the Guatemalans are gonna be like, well, why isn't that a lighter blue? And then the Salvadorans is like,
yeah,
well,
and
it's
they're
not
like,
your
that's
blue.
darker. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it.
no, 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 no. I think ahead. Okay, I'm like, I'm not about to do that to myself. No.
Right. Yeah. No. And plus, honestly, like what I'll say to this too, because I've dabbled with a little bit of design, and what I do like about the design that you have out there, it's so neutral that anybody can relate to it. Like
Exactly.
it's so vague, but like vague. I feel like vague has a lot of negative context behind it, but I'm gonna dissociate that. That's what I like doing with words. Is I'm gonna dissociate the negative context from the word vague. Is because it brings so much positivity. It's like you could be Honduran, Central American, of course, Central America. And what I meant to say is like Honduran, Nicaraguan, like Panamanian, Costa Rican, Salvadoran, like all right. And you look at the show, it's like Central American. Well, that's me. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so where it's like you have a lot of like these shirts like on Facebook and stuff like that, where it's like I'm Central American, but they got a pupusa at the bottom of it, or like I'm Central American, or like and it has like the leaves that are on the Salvadoran flag. You see what I'm saying? Well, it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
that's not
Which is
me.
also
I get what you're
something
trying to
that,
say. You know what I'm
which is
saying?
also, yeah, it's also something that it was a little rough trying to figure out the size because like so many countries, so many cultures in one like region.
Right.
But I was like, first of all of us, which I've had people tell me thank you because it's like so neutral and it's not like, exactly the way you put it, basically. I'm like, and I tweeted it. I have tweets where I said that was the I chose that design. I decided to, make it like that. I'm like, all of us don't eat baleadas. All of us
Mm,
don't eat pupusas. All of us don't speak Spanish. All of us don't dance punta. All of us don't
hmm
dance cumbia. Like the list goes on. So I'm like, this is just that's the way it should look. Just say a simple letters in front, Central American, and then the back people to understand, including Mexican, y'all. But just want to let you know you're not Central American. To let it be known what region consists of being Central American.
yeah.
Simple. Yeah.
And so I want to talk about like the other designs that you have out there. So like besides so you talked a little about the Afro-Latina design
Yeah.
and the Central American design. Like what are some of your other favorite designs that you have out there? Like what
My
messages are you trying to send, you know?
Yeah, I have two Garifuna shirts. I like both. So one of them says African Arawak Carib, and then it's like a how you in math when you're in elementary like add all these stuff and then it'd be an equal sign. So that's how it
Yeah.
is. And then the bottom says Garifuna. So people can understand exactly like what consists.
Oh, okay, wait,
Yeah,
hold up. I gotta pull this up right now because I seen that design, but I never noticed it was a math problem.
yeah. I
What?
mean, yeah, it's kind of like it's like it says African. Then there's like a plus. There's only one plus sign though, and it says Arawak and Carib, and then it equals Garifuna. And then
I literally, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense now.
and
I
then
like it a lot
the
more. Like, geez, oh my gosh, my mind's blown right now. That's so cool.
yeah, because I'm like just like short, simple, just what a Garifuna is.
Yeah,
And then the
yeah.
recent one is called I call it Joseph Satuye, and that's our chief. Joseph Satuye, whatever you want to call him. He was the chief, the leader of the Garifuna people, Saint Vincent. So, and this idea actually came from because this actually came. I feel like I didn't even tweet this. I posted this on Facebook years ago before I had my t-shirt business, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of us Hondurans, wherever, whether you're Garifuna or not, whatever, if you're Honduran, a lot of us have the Indio Lempira shirt. And so Indio Lempira Indio Lempira is like he was an indigenous man, and he was our first president in Honduras, first leader. So a lot of us have a shirt with his face on it. Our currency is called Lempira. The one Lempira has his face on it, and that face is on a whole bunch of shirts.
Okay.
And so I'm like, yo, like we all got this Lempira shirt. First of all, I'm not Lenka. But, because he was Lenka. I'm not Lenka. Why do I have this shirt? I mean, like, I'm not gonna say why, but it's like, I understand I'm Honduran, but it's like, I see that we have this Lenka shirt and all of us wear this shirt, India Lempira shirt, but hello, where's the Satuye one?
Yeah.
I literally said that. So I was like, you know what? F it. I'm about to make it my damn self. And that's exactly what I did. I love it. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, those are two of my favorite designs. I've had other designs, but they didn't like do too well, and I didn't really like them myself either. So I just took them off the website, but they sold. I sold them all, and kind of just kept it pushing and sticking to what actually sells. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm like looking at the website right now, and things just make so much more sense. Like I'm still stuck on the with it being a math problem. Like, wow, that's so cool. Like, all right, never mind. Sorry. Like I told you, I like design, and so like that just made me smile. So, and I'm looking at the what's his name, Joseph Satuye.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is really nice too. Wow. Yeah. So, listeners, if you was it brownsugarandcanela.com, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so because listen, a lot of my Central American friends would be like, "Where'd you get that shirt?" And I'm like, "Listen, I'll link you to the Instagram." And I was sending the Instagram, and so like that's where it's at.
It's funny because even now, like I don't do too well in marketing because it's like I just get drained. My job can get so draining. Like I just get home. I just get to the hotel actually, and I just sleep. But it's funny because like when I log in, I'll be gaining followers, and I'm like, somebody must have sent y'all here because I have not posted anything. So someone had to have sent you to this to follow us, and it's crazy because like I said, I haven't been marketing that, but here and there I get orders. I'm like, it's nice to know that even though I'm not doing a great job, they're still supporting me.
No, for sure. I would say like the biggest reason why it's more than just for me, it's more than just the fact that you made a shirt that I like and I bought it. And I'm an impulsive person, okay? Like I am, but that's not the reason. So like the reason why like I want to continue to support you, and your platform is because you truly and I think it really described itself throughout this entire episode is like you really believe in what you're putting out there. You see what I'm saying? There's a clear mission, there's a clear, objective to educate people, right? And so it's not to cater to the masses. It's not to cater to like the white Latinx folks or the mestizo or I don't even know how to say it, mesticex folks, out there. But you know what I'm saying? Like, no, the clear objective is I'm Garifuna, I'm a Black Central American woman, and this is my business, and here it is. This is it. And then you show it with your platform, on Twitter, you show it with your blog, and everything that you do. So that to me, that's very admirable, right? And I think that's the difference maker. So again, shout out to you because I feel real inspired right now.
Thank you. That is actually funny that you say that. Ironic because my first blog post I just posted yesterday, and one of the last things I said before ending the blog says, "Believing in yourself is the first key to success."
Yeah.
So you're telling me that it's just like, and I definitely, crazy because if I was to tell my story, people would not understand. I used to really have really, really bad team, and ever since now, it's like I have this, and it's not in a cocky way. It's just like a really like confident person. Like I'm just confident in what I do because everything I've done is showing that you really genuinely believe in yourself, then you will be successful. And definitely, it could go on forever, but I definitely am proud of myself. And I'm definitely thankful for all the support because you can't do none of this without support. Because if you don't have support, you're gonna like you're just in it for, it's just you need to people regardless of how what's the word in turn
Regardless.
how like regardless how like me, I'm somebody that's a homebody and I prefer to I'm happy being myself in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if I like to be by myself. Having support it's always needed, regardless. Eventually, someday, sometimes I'm like, hey, I need somebody. You know what I'm saying? So having
Yeah.
support is definitely something that has kept me pushing, and even on my worst days, it's kept me pushing. And
Hmm.
everyone needs the support, whether regardless if you have a platform or not, because you just don't know whose life you could be changing or saving that day. To be honest,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
And I'm glad you brought that up too, because listen. Oh my gosh, I like my ideas are messing with me right now because like on the third episode I said I feel like I bring up mental health like every episode, and I'm about to bring it up right now because what you
that's
just said.
crazy. Because I was
Yeah.
about to go into it myself.
Okay. Cool. So
It's kind of
we
hard
can
not
do that.
to.
We can do that, and quite honestly, like it's true. Success comes from when you really truly start to believe in yourself, but that is easier said than done.
Yes,
And
it
it's
is.
funny because I was just talking to some people about it today. We're talking about assertiveness versus the sense of belonging. And
Right.
a lot of people were saying you're talking about assertiveness with a negative context because
Mm-hmm.
this is why like, I'm saying this so much, like taking away the negative context from certain words like vague and assertive, because we like to look at those words like they kind of they leave a sour taste in your mouth. But to me,
Right.
like assertive isn't a bad thing. Like I used to be the kind of guy that like if someone were to give me like a compliment, I'd be like, no, like that's not true. Like, why are you telling me about this? And then I
Yeah,
would kind
yeah,
of brush
yeah.
it off, like, oh, you did such a good job. I was like, oh no, I didn't deserve this. And that still kind of lingers there. Like that imposter syndrome just comes, in sometimes. But growing up and maturing and finishing school and making it through the hardest trials and tribulations, just trying to graduate, like it showed me like, yo, I can literally like do anything. Like I can literally like that might be obviously I can't, obviously I can't, but that feeling like you accomplish something and you really show yourself this is what I'm capable of doing. It's like it really kind of transforms you. It's like, oh, like I can actually do something. Like
Right.
like getting elected to go on an e-board, right? And saying that like, people trusting in you as a leader or having somebody tell you like, oh, like they look up to you as a role model. And it's like,
Yeah.
what? Like, what did I do to deserve this? But cool, I guess. And then, once you start to accept yourself and once you start to say, like, you know what? Yeah, like I am good at this. And then it starts to turn into like, you know what? How do I expand my influence? You see what I'm saying? But it all starts within yourself. It all starts with your mental health. Like, because where I'm coming at with all this is like, so I'm diagnosed with like I'm clinically diagnosed with mild depression. So like I'm wired to think this way. But how I cope with it is I purposely try to overcome it, by doing more things
Right.
and keeping myself busy. So you said you were gonna go into mental health. So I'm interested like to hear about what you wanted, what I guess like what you wanted to say.
Okay, so I'm not necessarily clinically, um, I haven't been told like by a doctor that I suffer from depression or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I personally have seen like I'm gonna say I've self-diagnosed myself with depression. But here recently, like as the years have gone by, especially doing all of this, I feel like it has not like it's not as bad as it used to be.
Hmm.
And now with my career, because I've chosen something I've always wanted to do and I'm genuinely happy. I didn't listen to anyone's opinion on what I should do, whether I should do it or not. No, you have a degree. I personally feel happier genuinely. And I
Yeah.
tweeted it not too long ago. I haven't been depressed in like 4 months. Because
Uh-huh.
that's how long I've been with 5 months now. I haven't been depressed for 5 months because that's how long I've been with my job, my company or whatever. And I just feel like I'm not saying, you know, if a doctor has given you medications to treat your depression, I'm not saying don't take it. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
saying, try to find something that works for you that helps you cope with whatever mental that you have.
For sure.
And that I feel like that was me, especially like for me. I don't know if I get a little sad. My depression definitely did get bad in 2018 because of grad depression. Like it was my ass. Like I did not
Oh.
expect it to drag me like that, but it dragged me. And then on top of that, my great grandmother passed away. My last living great grandmother. Me and my great grandmother were like, that was my heart. That was my everything.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason that I decided to hop into a career without caring anyone's words or thoughts was because, like I said earlier in the podcast, my plans for post grad were to go to Honduras to live 6 months. My entire family, even those are the most supportive of me, were like,
Uh-huh.
no. Like, oh,
Mm.
Honduras está hecho mierda, que boo
Yeah.
boo, like, don't do that. Like, so I listened to them and I didn't go. And had
Mm.
I listened to them, I feel like I would have been able to spend my last few months with my great grandmother alive. You know what I'm saying? The last time I had seen her
Mm.
before she passed in 2018 was in 2017,
That's
and it's
tough.
like if I would have made the decision of not listening to anyone when I wanted to leave and just booked my flight like one way,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would have, been a lot like easier with the grieving process because I would have been like, at least I got to spend months with her, not like a week. I got to spend months with her, and I got to, like enjoy those last moments. Versus her passing away, where it was like, wait, first of all, I've never been to someone that it's gonna sound so bad, but when people die, it's like I've always just shrug it off because people are gonna die. Like that's inevitable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it
It's
was
the one thing
it
you
was
can't
this was
escape.
yeah, it was so this one death was the one death where I actually grieved, and it was
Mm-hmm.
it was crazy. It made my post grad depression a lot worse. So
Post grad depression is a thing.
it is a
Anyone who
thing.
says it's not is a liar.
They're lying. They are lying. Okay, because everyone tried to warn me. A lot of my friends are older than me. They will all warn me, and they would all check up stuff. But I still was just saying like really depressive and really just not like not even wanting to talk to people. I would just lock myself in the room and like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know. And it
Yeah.
got even more frustrating when you're like searching for these jobs and you're qualified and you can give way more than what you're asking for, but they don't see it. No one's calling you back and no one's emailing you back, or you'll get to, a certain part of the interview and not make it. Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely real. Do not
Yeah.
deny it. If you have a friend that's gonna graduate soon, or just keep an eye on them. Definitely check up on them, like
For
for
sure.
real, for real. Yeah.
I guess like yeah, you brought up a bunch of good points. First and foremost, I'm sorry about your great grandmother and stuff, but what I can
Thank you.
see, from that is that you bounced back. You learned an important lesson,
Yeah.
and when you really believe it, I can't stress this enough. And I want and listen, like if you're listening to this, I need you to listen. I'm talking to listeners, I'm talking to you, but like
Yeah.
if you're listening to this, I need you to take away this lesson perfectly, like word for word, okay? Whether it be as tragic as what Yana went through, or something as simple as what I went through. Like what my story is like, I took a job and everyone told me to take this job because, oh, it pays good, but it may not be the best job that you like, but it pays good, to go ahead and do it. That's the job that I ended up quitting, and that's why I put out this tweet the other day. I was like, I just quit my job. I feel like that a weight's been lifted off my shoulders, and I'm finally happy. Like, and it got like decent amount of likes. Like, not that likes matter, but the fact that that many people care about what me being happy shows something. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyways, whether it be as something as tragic as what you went through, or something as simple as what I went through, the whole point is when that instinct inside of you is telling you to do something, like, and it, like, that you got to do it, then you got to do it, like, or else you're not going to be happy with yourself. It's like it could be applied to so many different things. It's like, maybe I want to go to school here. Then you feel like, well, I have to go to school here. And then you start listening to other people around you say like, well, no, you can't do that because, and then you listen to them, and then you have that thought stuck in your head. It's like, but what if I would have done that? And then you're stuck with that forever. And then,
Yeah.
it could be like, so, or something as simple as like, something super simple as like, oh, you're interested in a person. And then, you know, people around you are like, ah, no, you probably shouldn't do that. Or no, you don't got a chance. And it's like, all right, bet. I guess I'm not going to. And then you got to live with that. It's like, well, what happens if I had the courage to do it? You know what I'm saying? What happens if I just learned? What happens if I just listened to myself? It's a lesson that every single person is going to have to go through. And I bet you any money that the people would listen to this and not listen and go ahead and just and continue on. But then there will be that experience that wakes them up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then and it pushes them in the right direction. It's kind of like, I guess my point in really putting it out there is because I don't want to move on without sharing that piece of information and hoping for the best. I'd rather just say it and then be good with it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I want y'all to really trust in your dreams and to turn those dreams into gold. That's
Yes.
what changes
Yes.
dreams. Like dreams, anyone can dream of something. You know, like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want to be an astronaut. Okay.
Right.
What are you going to do to be an
What are you
astronaut?
doing? Exactly.
You know what I'm
People don't
saying?
see that. They don't. They don't see
Yeah.
the work that's put into like Rihanna being as big as she is, Beyonce being as big as she is. You know, people just say, "Oh, she's Beyonce and she's this," but they don't see the struggle, whatever she had to go through to get
Hmm.
to where she got to. You know, um,
Yeah.
and also another thing I definitely also wanted to add with this is there is power in what you say.
Yeah.
There's power in what you say, and of course, like in your mind, because you know, like, I don't know how the saying goes. What your tongue, your mind, whatever, what's on your mind comes out of your tongue. Some of you though, but what I'm saying is there's power in it. It's like for me, it's a lot of things that I chuckle at, because it happened. It didn't happen like when I said it, but it happens eventually, and it's weird how like it just happens. Like I've tweeted and I've
Mm.
said I'm gonna meet Amara La Negra, and what happened? I met Amara La Negra, interviewed
Yeah.
Amara La Negra. I have a whole picture with Amara La Negra. Before I started my t-shirt business on one of my Twitter accounts, because I've deleted a couple, I had tweeted, I want to start a business or something.
Hmm.
This was literally a year before I started Brown Sugar and Canela, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
I've always said I want to start a blog, but I just never did it because I feel like I'm better with my writing than I am with crazy as it sounds, I am. Growing up, I was always the type to write a letter to you versus
Hmm.
calling you up and telling you what I did.
Yeah.
um, and then being a flight attendant, literally, I've always been wanting to be a flight attendant. There were a couple of times in undergrad, I actually tweeted it. Twitter. I'm such a Twitter person where I said, I'm just going to drop out of flight attendant. And my dad quickly said, no. Like he will, because he follows me on Twitter. So everything I'm crazy, like I see on Twitter, my dad already knows. He was like, yeah, no. You know what I'm saying? Like this was in undergrad. I feel like I was in second year in undergrad, second or third year.
Yeah.
And like here we are, you know, years later, and I've put into work what I said I was gonna do, even though I probably wasn't serious when I said it back then. You know what I'm saying? But because I put it in the air, it just came right back down. Like what goes up
Hmm.
comes right back down. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
I feel like you have to be very mindful. And something my one of my closest friends also she was like when I would speak negative, she would literally like if she was with me, she would pop me. We were on the phone and she'd be like, what I tell you about that? You know what I'm saying? Because she's like, she's like, you need to stop. You know, there's power in what you say. You need to stop. You need to stop. So I've literally learned like from all of my stuff, like just sitting back one day and like just noticing how my life had been going. I'm like, yeah, it's power in what you say. I'm gonna be very mindful of what I say because I don't want nothing negative being said and it like coming
Right.
back. So even when I do stuff, I'm like, all right, I got it. Like I did this, and it will be, you know, just to help. That's a coping mechanism for me as well. So like even when I get really nervous like, of something going on that's gonna happen soon, I'm like, relax, you got this, girl. You didn't get far for no reason. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up too. And I guess this is the last thing I'll say before we close out the episode, because you know we could talk forever about this,
We
and
could.
it literally like I'm charged up, and I really do want to talk about this forever. But you know, an important point that I want to emphasize too is when you say like when you project like I'm going to do this.
Say it with your chest.
Like, say it with your chest, but like also there's gonna be so many people telling you like, no, you're not going to. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was 18 years old, and I first got to John Carroll, and I told everyone around me, I'm going to be president of LASA. And then I didn't get president of LASA. I got vice president. I lost that election. I'm not salty, but but what I'm saying is like the fact, the reason why I lost that election, by a few votes is because people around me, that were much older looked down to me and they said, no, we didn't vote for you. And I said, why? It's like, well, honestly, I think you're just shitting us. Like, I just think you're full of shit. Like, I don't think you know what they use those words. And I said, they said, we really don't think that you know what you're talking about. And I said, okay, I see I see where you're coming from, but you're wrong. And so
Right.
it made me project what I wanted to do more. Like, it fueled me. And I was just talking to my cousin about this the other day. And, and he said, well, do you feel like you need to prove yourself to people? And I said, no, it's not like that. I've already proven myself to myself. But the thing is, when people say negative things about me, to me, or do negative things to me, or don't pay attention to me, or anything like that, and it's like, okay, you have this idea of me. Well, that idea of you is wrong. And for me to not let that affect me, I need to continue on doing what I'm doing. Like it's just what I have to do.
And it's something that's like, it's like a fire in me. Like,
Yeah.
at least for me, it's like, oh, you think I can't do it? Bet. And then it might be
Yeah.
like, sign. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just like, that's my sign to do it, to go hard or go home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you tell me, nah, I don't think you should do that. Not, oh, really? Watch me do it. I'm a daredevil. So
yeah,
it's definitely, yeah.
So, oh my gosh, we just had a wholesome conversation about a lot of different things. And so, thank you so much for coming on the show. I feel like so many people can learn about what you just said and feel really inspired about your story and your experience and stuff and all of that. So I guess, closing things out, I was telling you about these questions. So like, why did I just blank out? Okay. If you could say one last thing before we sign off for the show, what would that be?
I'm resting. If you did not hear anything else in this entire podcast, it is to believe in yourself. That's all. Believe in yourself.
Cool. Awesome. And then do you have any shout outs? And how can we follow you on social media, businesses?
Shout outs. I'm just gonna shout out all of my support. All of you. You all keep going, and you do not understand how much and how grateful I am of your support. And so as far as social media goes, I am Keyanna on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Yeah. So it's
cool.
MELLAMOYANNA. And awesome. My t-shirt business is Brown Sugar and Canela. It's on Instagram, it's Brown Sugar and Canela. The website is brownsugarandcanela.com. It's actually on the Instagram. And then on Twitter, it's a sugar, but I don't Twitter. Just go on Instagram.
Cool. All right. So I will put all the links into the episode description. And so you can follow Keyanna on all of her channels, all of her social media handles, and definitely support her. Buy some of her shirts, support her designs, read her blog, and all of that. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your time too, because I know it's been crazy playing in this thing. But yeah. All right. And so for the rest of the listeners, you can follow the show on Race the Number 2 to the Finish on every single social media. I'm still not done with this website. I haven't had the time. I just started a new job and I just been trying to keep up with people. So yeah. And then you can still go ahead and email me if you have any questions. Go ahead and email me at carlos@race2thefinish.live. And if that doesn't give it away, that's what the website is. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and I'm missing some I'm sure of, but whatever. Oh yeah, Facebook and YouTube. And yeah, and so if you don't have anything else, go ahead and join us next week. And see you later. And bye-bye.
Bye.